What is happening, Blades? And welcome back to the Blades Ramble, proudly sponsored by Action Coach Sheffield. This is a Rambler. Well, I started well, isn't it? This is a Ramblers only special. So it's only open to Ramblers, this chat. So hopefully it'll be a touch more civilized than usual. And even when we open the doors and let all the rabble in, I've discovered that you can block certain people. Now, I've never done this sort of thing before. And, you know, I never thought I'd have to, really. And it's a shame that you ever do. But we had a bit of a back and forth, didn't we, in Ramblers chat, for those of you that are involved in it. And, yeah, we decided that why we're going to take some abuse. But for me, I'd like to give people a few chances. But ultimately, I've blocked someone today on Twitter as well, which, honestly, it's quite liberating, actually. I never thought I'd be one of them people, but here we go. So we're here to talk about the Blades, aren't we? I think just about this stream, what I'll do is, because it is a members only, a Ramblers only stream. But I think because it's such an emotive topic and people will be keen to hear what we're going to say, I'll probably release it into the wild a little bit later on. But obviously they won't have a chance to converse during this conversation. It's you guys that I want to talk to today about it. So you know me well enough now. I've no notes, I've no nothing. Sometimes when I'm talking, I'm looking down, and I've noticed when I watch myself back that I look down and I'll look somewhere and I'll think, I bet people think I'm reading, and I'm not. Not that it makes a difference if you do, but I suppose that's just like a focal point that I go to. Either way, I've no notes tonight. I was trying to think in car on way back, because we're just on his way back from caravan, as to what I might want to talk about tonight, because, to be honest, it's getting beyond the point where, not where any of us care, obviously, but it's so demoralising for your side to not just get beat every week, but get hammered. We're not even in these games, are we? It's gutting, to be fair. It's really like disappointing, particularly when we're so used to putting up a fight, at least put up a fight. So I put a couple of interesting polls up, and yeah, I've started using polls on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. And there's a couple that I'm going to touch on either today or in my next video, to be honest, because my next video is going to be about how we can turn it around, or how I think we can sort of rebuild the season. But one of the polls that I put out, in fact, I'll talk about two of them, is do we keep Eki? You have three choices. Do we keep Eki? Do we go get Wilder? Or do we do neither of those? And I've asked people to name it below, or name the replacement manager if you're going to do that. I've never known a poll as tight. It came in as get somebody else other than Wilder in at 32%. Go get Wilder at 34%. And keep Eki at 34%. Unbelievable. So that just shows you, and obviously these are small sample sizes. I think they were just short of 600 votes on that. And then another one that I put out was, if you could push a button and end the season now, but start next season in the Championship, are you pressing it? Basically, have you given up on this season already? And 2/3, 66%, said push that button now, or push that bad boy now. And the other 34% said, no, we can fix this season. I just thought it were really interesting. It shows, as a fan base, and I get their only snippets, but it shows where we are. So we're split on whether Eki stays or goes. We split on whether Wilder comes in. We split on whether another manager comes in. That's a direct three-way, pretty much, which I think reflects a lot of people I've spoken to. I think it's swinging slightly away from Eki at the minute, if I'm honest. That's in our Ramblers chat anyway. And I also think, in terms of would you end the season now and start in the Championship, have you given up on it? About 2/3 are already of the belief that we're already down. And that's what really gets me. And I'm not frustrated at the fan base. Everybody's entitled to their opinion, but the mentality that we've been sold that it's okay, it's fine just to assume that we're going to get relegated. Well, there's loads of connotations to that. I don't mind having a season where we know we're going to struggle, as long as we're giving our all. That's the first thing. That's unquestionable and unacceptable for anything else at this club. You have to be. You can have a lack of quality. We can fall at the final hurdle, but at least take it there. At least get to the final hurdle through your effort and determination. And that's not happening at the minute. That's really poor. I'm at a loss really, because I don't think the players are putting the effort in. I think the heads are going down. I think the mentality's weak. And I don't know how to turn it around. I don't personally. And the video I've got coming up where I think this is how I would turn it around is obviously very tongue in cheek. Who am I? I'm just a lad with an opinion, like we talk about all the time. But fans are falling out in lumps about this. And, I hear a lot of, in fact, there's a lot of people saying the Prince won't sack him because he don't want to pay him up. Now, I don't know. I don't know whether that's another reason to try and dig at the Prince. Would you prefer that he did push the button and sack him? Because then people will be saying he has not backed the manager. Everybody knows I've got an interview coming up with the Prince, and I would be daft. Not that I would anyway, because hearing the little tiny bits that I do get to hear, I do understand more than is sort of in the public arena at the moment why certain decisions are made. So I have a little bit more patience with that side of things. But I've always said I'll come on here and I will speak my mind open and honestly. And I think as sort of admirable as it is to stick with your man, I think the Prince is waiting for the inevitable. Ultimately, I mean, he's trying to show faith in Eke, but I think it's inevitable what's going to happen here, because there's a way to bow out of the Premier League gracefully, and we are not doing it. And why are we even thinking about that 8 games in? I was watching Nick's match reaction the other day, and he sort of titled it his most ranty one so far, or something like that. And I didn't really think it was that ranty, to be fair to him. I thought Nick always tries to look at the positives, and I try and look at the balance. So if I come across as negative at any point, then I'm only being honest with you, and I'll try and keep it as upbeat as I can. But something he said resonated with me, and it was, we're 8 games in. I'm thinking, yeah, only 8 games in. We're nearly a quarter of the season done. I'm like, what? He's right as well. He's right. There's no two ways about it. I'm thinking there's 30 games left here. We've plenty of time to get somebody, and I still am of that mindset that there's plenty of time to have fresh ideas and a fresh impetus. But we're waiting for the inevitable. And then, contrastingly, I have a different opinion where when you looks out, sometimes you just know, don't you? Sometimes you know that a season is not going for you, and it never is going to go for you. When the tragedy happened with Maddie Cusack, that is unspeakable in terms of how that can affect a club. I think we felt it to a lesser degree when, I mean, the fan base was split on that again, but like when we lost Ched Evans, for example, and that's obviously, we're not talking about life or death. This completely, what I'm talking about is a huge turning point in a season where somebody close to the club has something usually negatively that massively affects them. So the first one that jumped out to me was Ched Evans being convicted, which obviously years later got quashed, but everything that happened that season, we absolutely caved. The next example I can think of is Paul Coutts. When Paul Coutts broke his leg in our first season back in the Championship, we nosedived because the team were devastated, and the team could not recover from one of our talismen, who was playing some of the best football of his career, going down injured and sort of ruining his career, essentially. He never recovered from that injury. We've had Jack O'Connell go down injured and be out for it's ended his career, hasn't it? That knee injury. We've now, we then had the absolute, which is a level above all of these things. We had Maddie tragically passing away, which, the same week we're expected to play a game of football, and I don't think I don't know anything much about Maddie at all, if I'm honest. So I'm loath to talk about it because I wouldn't want to put words into or thoughts into the arena of somebody I don't know. But obviously, somebody that works at the club. She was in the marketing department. She was obviously one of the longest serving players of the women's team, and a lot of the players knew her. You're going to be absolutely heartbroken at what's happened there. And we still don't know the details, and it's none of our business. And then to top it all off, well, the game prior, our captain goes down injured and he's out for months. Somebody who he's one of the robust players we've ever had, John Egan. One of the most robust players we've ever had. And he's very, very rarely injured. And he's out now for months. And then another player who's been an absolute legend of the club, whether you think he's good enough for the level, and I don't think he's good enough for this level, but Chris Basham's more than just a squad player for us. He's the next best thing to Billy Sharp, really. He's not a born Blade, but he's certainly an adopted Blade. And to see one of our League One heroes, essentially, who was in his testimonial year, break his leg in what will likely end his career is absolutely, well, it's heartbreaking, isn't it? And I don't mean to sort of dwell and listen, but all that aside, everything that I've just spoken about, particularly Maddie, Egan, Bash, all the bad luck, and again, Maddie's on a completely different level, so I don't want to keep bringing her into the same conversation, but it's a hugely tragic event that's affected our club this season. Everybody's getting injured. Everything's just falling apart at the club, and that's how it seems. And we get done 8-0 at Newcastle, and ever since that 8-0, well, I went off the deep end in terms of that's it. He's got to go. We cannot come back from this. And I don't think I'm truly out of that mindset, if I'm honest, because I don't know whether he can pull it round. I understand that we lost at West Ham because there's a hangover, but then at Fulham there just seems to be no ideas and no sort of, I don't know. And sometimes when you just, I think we all accepted that it'd be a tough season this year, and we all knew the plan going in, and we'd all accepted it, or even if we didn't accept it, we knew it. So we knew that the plan was to clear the decks financially and getting players with potential, and that were Traore, Slimani, Larouci, try and get Vinny Souza on loan. Then we sell our two best players. We're bringing some, like, what I would say are top championship players and will prove themselves at Premier League level, whether it's with us or someone else. But Gus Hamer and Cameron Archer, I hear the calls and I understand it. But I think lumping the ball up high to Cameron Archer is not how you're going to get the best out of him. Cameron Archer being asked to come deep. I see people putting formations up, and again, everybody's entitled to their opinion. But in my opinion, and I'm not saying Archer's blameless because he's certainly not. He's not done his part like the rest of them haven't done theirs. Cameron Archer needs to be your highest player up the field. There's no, like, he's as close to Billy Sharp as we're going to get. So feed the arch and he will shoot the arrow, however we wanted to say it. But do you know what I mean? We've got to play to his strengths. For so long, we lumped it up to McBurney because he was tall. McBurney's not like a target man. He can hold it up really well and he's good with his feet. So I would drop McBurney deeper. I understand the tradition is to have the biggest man at the highest point, and because the shorter, quicker lads, and I don't think, push them out wide, Brewsters and Archers, and they're not wide men. The strikers, play them through the middle. That's just my opinion. There's loads that I need to get off my chest tonight, and I'm sorry that I'm rambling, but it's part of the course, innit? And you guys know that better than anything else. I'm crestfallen. I'm upset. I'm apathetic. I'm tired in terms of, the same thing week after week. And then, I mean, we'll get into it, and I want to get into your comments. But the old Chris Wilder thing, people are split on Wilder as well. Obviously, we talked about the poll results and things like that. If it's not going to be Chris Wilder, like, say Chris Wilder gets a job in Minnesota. He's rumoured to be in America talking to, likely Minnesota about their job vacancy because it's free and he was there. Say he gets that job, I'm not sure I want Eki sacked. And that might sound daft, but I don't know if there's somebody that can change us if it's not going to be. I wanted Chris Wilder for who he was, not the manager that he is per se, even though I think he's a very good manager. I think he's a better manager than Eki. That's my opinion. But he is a difference maker. Not we need a new manager to be a difference maker. Chris Wilder brings an X factor to this club. There is no way players do not play for Chris Wilder as a sort of fresh page coming in. And I get his record at Borough, his record at Watford. There is no way he accepts the way that we're playing now. And that's just my opinion. And I understand people have different opinions on that. And likely if we do release this video to the wild, which I'm sure we'll end up doing eventually, you'll all come at me for that. And that's fine. But I'm going to jump into your comments because I think I've been talking way too long about it. I don't normally ramble for that long on these sort of things, but I think we all need to vent, don't we? And these usually end up becoming group therapy sessions, which we started calling them. It's balmy, but Dave starts us off tonight. Evening, pal. I feel there should be a change, but clearly now there won't be, at least in the short term. We now have to see a change in how the team is set up to try and compete. Yeah, and I'm going to stick on this just for a sec. Darren Smith, we're going to go a bit old school ramble here because Darren Smith, friend of the channel and a bloke I consider to be a friend now myself, which I'm very fortunate to say. We don't always agree on things, and that's what it's all about, isn't it? So I think it's time for a change. But if you read Darren's tweets and things that he's alluding to, I haven't spoken to the Prince in 3-4 weeks easily, and I've sort of after testing the waters, after speaking to him after a defeat, I've sort of stepped back because, believe it or not, he does care. He cares an awful lot. People sort of saying he does things on the cheap and things of that nature, and he's trying to save money and will go back down and things like that. There is some information that will eventually come out about the Prince, and hopefully it'll be in our interview in January that may surprise a lot of people in terms of, you know, why he desperately wants us to stay in the league and he'll do everything he can to keep us in the league. The reason he's keeping Eki is because he's got faith in Eki to do the job. There is money there to sack Eki if he doesn't feel he's capable. We can bring somebody else in. It's just, do you think they're capable? The bit about Darren that I was coming on to, that Dave sort of half alludes to, because I know we've discussed this in between us. So Darren was sort of saying, we never expected to beat Fulham, so why would you sack Eki on back of that? And I'm assuming, and this is only an assumption because I'm putting 2 and 2 together, that is from the club, like a lot of previous tweets from Darren have been, which he's spoken about in the past. So if Fulham's not classed as a winnable game, and then you can bet your bottom dollar that Man United will be classed not as a winnable game, and you can bet your bottom dollar also that Arsenal will not be classed as a winnable game. So then you're looking at your Bournemouths. I think then we play Brighton, but then Wolves, and then maybe Brentford. I can't remember exactly how it goes, but we have got, it sounds to me, and again, I've had nothing confirmed, but we have to assume, just from the noises that are coming out from Darren, who is very reliable, as we all know, that Eki will be given time to get this right. So if we go on that assumption, we have to back him. I've said this all along. You all know my opinions on it. You can agree, you can disagree, and that's absolutely what it's all about. But the one thing I will say is, if he's here, we need to back him. So if Eki's going to be the man, certainly for the next 2 games at least, probably 3, because you'd think you can afford to lose to Man U, afford to lose to Arsenal, because we're not expected to get out, and then go into the Bournemouth game, I think it is, correct me if I'm wrong. So he's going to be here for the next 3 games, we think, as a minimum. Now, we back him, and I don't want, change that badly that I'd like him to lose all the next 3 so we have a change. I want United to turn around. I don't care who's leading it as long as they lead us to safety. So I want Wilder in because I think he's more of a chance of leading us to safety. We can't get that confused. I want Eki to be a success at our club. And if he's going to be the man for the next few games, then he will have my backing. So that's that nailed. Hopefully everybody understands where I'm coming from with that. Dave rightly says, rightly in my opinion, we need to change the setup. Now, I have proposed a team, and I think we need to be a bit more fluid in terms of we should also be playing with a 3, but I think we go to a back 4. I think we go Baldock, Anel, right centre back, Trusty left centre back, and I had Thomas as left back. I've had some pushback on that online on Twitter for Jack Robinson at left back. I'm not against that. I don't think Thomas has been great last few games. I think Jack Robinson provides us with that steel, and he's not as susceptible to an error, or even if he is going to be error prone, then at least it's a little bit further away from the major danger zone. We also retain that long throw weapon. I'm not against Jack Robinson being in at left back. I want Souza in the middle, and I want Hamer and Slimani either side of him, and I want McAtee just a little bit further forward than those 3. So we're sort of squeezing the midfield up a little bit, and I'm keeping Archer and McBurney up front, but McBurney deeper than Archer right at the top. So I think we've more of a chance with that, packing the midfield a little bit more. Let me know what you think. But Dave, I don't know if it's happening, mate. I know we've talked about it too, mate. I don't think it's going to happen. He sums it up here. Remember, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. Yeah, so the change that he'll make will likely be John Fleck coming into the side. And that's me being sarcastic, but kind of cautiously worried about it too. Me too, Dave. Eki clearly out of his depth. I know, mate. I know. Change needs to happen, says Paul. Eki's done a great job. He took us as far as he can. Even the best of the best run out of steam sometimes and need someone else to carry the club forward. I'm spending close to 200 quid every away day taking the grandkids, says David. Oh, my goodness me. All I want to see is passion to wear the shirt and the players giving everything. Not seeing it at the minute. Change needed. And we say change needed. I titled the thumbnail Change It. I did the Change It thumbnail when I was raging again after the game. I'm glad I had to take a breather because I was away at the caravan. So I couldn't go live, which is probably for the best. So, and I thought, when I woke up this morning, I'd had a terrible night's sleep. Didn't get off till about 3:30. It weren't just United, but, you know, they don't help, do they? So 3:30, I drop off to sleep. She has me up and about at 8 because we're going swimming with kids. And I'm thinking, do I change this thumbnail now? Because I feel a little bit harsh. So obviously, I were alluding to change the chuffing manager now. But no, it can be sort of thought of in a different connotation, can't it? It can be thought of as change the tactics, or something needs to change the players, whatever it might be. I'm going to throw a name out at you here that I haven't mentioned in the Ramblers chat yet, and it's only something that sort of came to me as I'm driving home tonight, thinking about how we can do something to change things. Don't shoot me for this. It's just, I want to gauge opinion, and it proves how desperate we are. Phil Jones. How would you feel about Phil Jones coming in as a free agent? Just initially as a squad man, he's going to have to get up to speed, but who have we got? Who have we got at the back now? I like the 4 at the back with Anel and Trusty, but if we're going to stick to a 3, then we've got Anel, Trusty, Robbo. What's underneath that? Nothing now. It's frightening, really. Hiya, Kev. Not even Pep could motivate this squad. It's been a disaster from pre-season. Any points now is a bonus. Roll on January transfer window. Absolutely. And for me, January transfer window is going to be really interesting because, I mean, 2 seconds. So, as sort of concerned as I am, and as sort of negative that I've been, I suppose, in this video about how concerned we all are, because how can you not be 1 point from 8 games? We are not adrift. Crazily, we are not adrift. The one thing I will say is we've talked about a League of 6 at the beginning. It's now firmly a League of 5. I think it will very rapidly become a League of 4. And I think it's between us, Burnley, Bournemouth, and Luton. And I think Bournemouth have a better squad than us. I think Burnley have an argument for as good a squad as us in certain areas. I think we have a better squad than Luton. but we have to finish top of that 4 or we're gone. So I think January transfer window talk is interesting, because if this was the COVID season where we completely gave up and didn't do anything in the transfer window because we were relegated by November effectively, we are rapidly on the same course as that. But, excuse me, what I would say is, even if we are adrift by then, say we're 8 points adrift come January, what would your thoughts be on shifting your focus to building a championship squad? So we may get rid of Max Lowe and other players, and John Fleck, and players that are coming to the end of their time. You know, you can argue Ollie Norwood. If we're going to go down, Ollie Norwood might have another season in him at the championship level, but he'll be 33 then, will he? Something like that. So we're looking at the turnover of the squad then in terms of who can bring us back. You know, if Sousa doesn't improve, do we cash in on Sousa? It sounds ridiculous, but it feels now like we need a whole new sort of rebuild, which is crazy to think. But as I said, there'll be more in my video to come in terms of how to rebuild. Eki has been let down by the club this summer and has had some rotten luck. I agree with that, Rich. He has had rotten luck. Players need to start showing some passion or stick some of the youngsters in who know what being a fan is all about. Absolutely. And that sort of plays into what we've just been saying. Do you plan for next season? Do you recall Ollie Arblaster and have him playing, you know, either 20-minute cameos in the Premier League, or do you give him a start in tougher games, or even, you know, easier games that he might sort of become accustomed to the pace of the league and things like that? Do we start integrating players? Does Asula get more game time instead of somebody like Cameron Archer, who will have given up on staying because he automatically goes back if we're relegated, which I'd hate to see. You all know how much I love Cam, but we have to think about what's good for the club, and it's such an unbelievable sort of period. Different formation for me. Everyone knows how we're going to set up the brief 3-5-2. It's not hard to counter attack, I assume Craig means. Without undertaking centre backs, this formation has run its course. There's no way out of defensive mode. We need Norwood, Sousa, and Hamer all playing with McAtee behind Archer and McBurney. Yeah, I get that, Steve. If we can get them all in the same team, it'd be great. Do you think Hamer and McAtee clash? I don't think they complement each other very well. I think when McAtee's in the side, I think that Hamer becomes a more defensive-minded player, and I think his strengths are more as an attacker. But obviously then it's too gung-ho, and we have to sort of call him back a little bit. I don't think he's at his best when he's playing in the same side as McAtee. Steve suggests relearning the 4-4-2. If we can't grasp that pretty bloody quickly, then aren't we a really bad football team? These are professional footballers. They should be able to play it. What I would say is we ain't got any wingers to play like a 4-4-2, unless you mean very narrow, like we were talking about earlier. So yeah, I won't be against that. Rob became a fan of Eki because of his success. I despair because of his failure. Absolutely, mate. Bogle and El Trusty, Jackie Longthrow and Thomas did well for the first time together against Fulham. Switching Baldock and it starts to look good. Best we can hope to do is not see Eki changing his system. Okay, yeah, I can see contrasting opinions to it. I'm not saying we definitely have to do, but Evening Dempsey, he says, get a new manager in, but not Wilder. Go for it at the back and let's try to play football. You mate. I can't for some reason now select other comments. There we go. The man mountain himself. Look to go far across the back with Jackie Longthrow and George either side of an Ellen Trusty. Yeah, I like it. I like it, to be honest. I think that's what we need to do. Been beating the formation, changed drums since last... Yes, you have, Van Blade, to be fair, pal. You have. In fact, we've nothing else up our sleeve is naive at best from the manager. Agreed. But it's not, to be fair to Eki, that's not just been him. Slav didn't have a plan B. His plan A didn't work. But I have to say, even the Messiah, Chrissy Wilder himself, didn't have a plan B. What he would do is throw caution to the wind in games, and I think he was a lot cuter with his tactics mid-game in terms of his subs and things of that nature, things I think Eki needs to improve on. I don't think we've had a plan B for a long time. Yes, mate, fresh trim. I would have, well, it's a lie, really. I was going to say I would have styled it for you if I'd have had more time. I didn't have any time, but I probably wouldn't have styled it for you. But yeah, thanks, pal. Evening, mate. Welcome to the stream. Welcome to the madhouse. Eki will not turn this around now, and that's why I want him out before it's too late. I agree, Chris. And listen, it's not going to be a massive Eki out shout from me tonight. He's our manager, we think, for at least the next 3 games. So we get behind him. But do I think he'll turn it around? Do I chuff? To quote my brother, do I chuff? I don't think he's got it in him now, unfortunately. It looks lost for ideas for me. Andrew says, hi, Jimmy. Best wishes to Chris Basham. Chrissy Basham, an absolute club legend. What an awful, awful thing to happen. I don't want to dwell on it too much, and that's not because I don't love Bash. Listen, I've criticised Bash this season in terms of I don't think he's up to the level, but that has nothing compared to what he's done for our club. It's same as like your John Flex, your Mark Duffy's before that, Billy Sharp, who are a big advocate of leaving. But, you know, I think if we dwell on it too much, we all know what's happened. I think we're all in the same boat. That is one thing that does unite the fans, that we all respect Bash and we thank him and we're so sad for him. But if we talk about it too much, and I'm not saying you want to, but I don't want to just dismiss your comment either, Andrew. If we talk about it too much, it'll become quite depressing, I think, and we've enough to worry about at the minute, haven't we, as Blades? So it's not that we don't care, because of course we do. But yeah, being found out by overlapping, there are times we have both wing backs and a centre back ahead of the offensive line or ball, and we lose possession too often and too easily in the Prem for that. That's right. We're not a surprise package anymore, are we? We need to stop all these shots we're conceding on target, then worry about going forward with a point to us from any game is a win currently. Yeah, absolutely. We take a point wherever we can go now, don't we, unfortunately, at the minute. Sorry, but we're awful, says Brian. Need a change. Sad for Bash. Absolutely, it is. All the best. Eki has to go, says Andrew, and give the next whoever has time to do something. That's right. That's how I feel, Andrew. You know, if we feel as a fan base it's inevitable now that we're just going to continue this slide, then why are we sticking with it? I could understand the mentality of sticking with Eki if we're going to fight all season and not be good enough, and we just miss out and we're 18th, maybe 19th at a push at the end of the season, but we've given it all and we just haven't been good enough. I think we'd accept it. It's still a long, hard season and it's a tough, tough watch. The unforgivable thing for me is the players look clueless, for one, like there's no plan for them. And they also look like they're not bothered. They're dawdling in possession, and it's like a lack of concentration when they're, the brief times that we're in possession. It's not acceptable in a Sheffield United shirt. You know, I'd take hard work and determination over quality any day of the week, because we're not showing either at the minute, are we? Agreed, Paul. So sad me and the boy had tears for Bash. Yeah, I'm not ashamed to say it were an emotional one, weren't it? Sad way for him to go out. Amazing lad, and typifies what United has been about for so many years. Sorry, been so quiet, Jimmy. I just feel so gutted with all this at the minute. Really don't know what to say about us. Kristen, you're in the same boat as us, mate, and this is why we're all here, having a chat about it. You don't have to speak up. You can just listen. You don't have to listen to us. You can switch us off. And, it's not something I'm supposed to say that, but it's whatever you feel comfortable doing, mate, because some people like we've got our Ramblers chat that you're all welcome to. We're talking about, have you listened to Eki's presser, and half at group and half at group don't want to listen to it because it's the same rhetoric and you feel like we're getting the same tripe being spun to us all the time, and that's how I tend to feel like we were in game for so long, and then and others just feel so dejected by everything. And it's sad. It's really sad when we think about some of the good times we've been on at this club for so many years. Eamon says it's a joke, mate. United are rubbish. Never known a team like this. No passion for the shirt. Can't even score a goal. And Eki has to go now. There's more and more of these coming in, isn't there? Eki to go. And this is your opinion. It's a forum for you to say what you think. I think what we're all forgetting about is that until a few months ago, these players haven't played together, bar a few. Yeah, I think that's fair, Craig. I would also say, though, other than the 3 development players that none of us have heard of, I think the signings we were all very pleased with, me included. And I still think they're good signings, if I'm honest. I think Cameron Archer is a brilliant signing for us. He hasn't shown it yet, other than at Everton. But I don't think he's really had the service to feed off. And listen, he's got to work harder to be in positions for that. And we have to work harder as a team to get in those positions. I think Gus Hamer is an absolute game changer of a player for us that hasn't got going. He keeps bringing him off. And he murmured previously about him not being fit. And I wonder if that's having an effect. Listen, I don't want to give him excuses because I don't think he's been as good as he can be. But I wonder if that's playing a little part in his sort of dip in form. Tom Davies is an absolute car crash of a signing. Just in terms of luck, out again now for months. Tom Davies, apparently. I don't know where that came from. I don't know what he's out with. He just got chucked in there with Egan news and in the Basham update. What is happening? What is happening? We need someone to come in and make us United again. Can't see Prince sacking him, though. Clearly lost the plot. Yeah, Prince has every reason to want us to stay in the league. So it's purely I say a business decision. That's probably not right terminology because people think that'll mean money-based decision, but it's clearly because Prince believes Eki is the best man available currently. Because that's the other thing. I want Wilder to come in because I think Wilder would be the difference, like I've spoken about. But if you take Wilder out of the equation, people are saying, who else is there? Well, my next shout for the last few weeks has been Kieran McKenna at Ipswich. The only one I would slightly also entertain would be, well, there's a couple that I think are doing a good job. I think John Eustace at Birmingham is doing a very good job, but it's very early days. Liam Rossini is doing a very good job at Hull. But I don't think either of them are an upgrade on Eki at the minute, if I'm honest. So Kieran McKenna would be the only one who jumps out at me, other than obviously we're taking Wilder out of the equation. A lot of people say he won't come. I'd obviously want Graham Potter, another name that keeps coming out. We are not getting Graham Potter. Graham Potter will not come to Sheffield United. Sheffield United will 80%, probably closer to 90 at the minute, be playing our football next season in the Championship. Graham Potter won't be managing in the Championship again. I don't think. It's just my opinion. People saying Ralph Hasenhüttl on an awful lot of money. Lopetegui on even more money. So is it a case of Eki staying around because there's no alternative to Eki? Don't know. It's all open for discussion. But I think, people say I daren't criticise the Prince and all this, and I understand that mentality because obviously I want to maintain a decent relationship with him and the club. But I think it's time to pull the trigger, and I think particularly if we can get Wilder now. If we can't get Wilder, then I'm in agreement. So maybe that's me being ridiculous, and listen, mine is just one opinion. I don't look forward to the games anymore, says Chris. I go to work in a bad mood after we lose. It ruins my weekend and all, mate. I know exactly what you mean. We've lost our identity at United. Yes, we have. And for me, Wilder or Warnock to get us that back. I won't want Warnock back. I don't know why as well. I can't fully justify it because he's a firefighter, isn't he? And he's always done a good job wherever he's gone. He did a good job with us. Football were awful at times, but I can't justify why I don't want Warnock other than, because it's same old names. But to be fair, he might do a job. He's not for me. It's bad when Saabs is slating us. I thought exactly the same, Craig. Saabs, listen, I've nothing against Carlos Saab. He was a good player for us. He's knocked YouTube channels a few times on his Twitter account, and that's up to him. He can do what he likes. He's a player, and players I always feel stick together, whether you're an ex-player or a current player. And sort of half of what I do, half of what Nick does, Johnny, we criticise the team from time to time, don't we? So-and-so's not playing well. Why is he still playing? Why aren't, get Eki out, get this out, do this, do that. he'll be thinking, "Who the chuff do you think you are? I've done this. I've laced me," and that's fair play. And it's a bit of a top trumps, really. But it don't mean I'm not entitled to my opinion. Don't mean you're not entitled to your opinion. And if you disagree with him, it might come for you. And him and Darren have gone back and forth a little bit. From what I understand, that a lot of that is pantomime, to be honest. But yeah, Sarbs, I always find is very pro. The team, the manager, everything's brilliant. And we've just got to give that extra 5% and everything will be brilliant again. And we are fantastic. We're playing in the best league in the world. And what an unbelievable achievement and performance. Yes, we've got to beat 8-0, but you've got to give it to the lads. They gave it. Sorry, I don't mean to sort of go down a rabbit hole, but I sometimes think, what? We've just got hammered 8-0. Oh, well, we were so unlucky. And if the first one was handball and the second one, oh my goodness, if sliding doors, if this hadn't have happened and this, come on, call it out. Call it when you don't believe it. I would say there's too much caution in some of that, if I'm honest. And listen, I certainly don't want to. He works at Radio Sheffield, and I don't want to offend them because they've been great with me. They've provided me with a platform as well as, Rob coming on the channel and stuff like that. So everybody's entitled to their own opinion. And my opinion is that Saab sometimes lays it on a bit thick with players and how great they are and how they're putting loads of effort in together and blah, blah, blah. Everybody can see they're on the floor. You're not fooling anybody that were a decent performance. Well, finally, like Craig says, Saabs, that must have been the tipping point at Fulham because not good enough. Didn't listen to Ecky's answers at the presser, he said, because they were getting too much for him. He didn't believe or didn't agree with what he was saying. Didn't agree. Saabs didn't agree with what Ecky was saying. Couldn't believe it. I was nearly knocked off my chair. Unbelievable. How that was not breaking news, I've no idea, but some would say it's just one person's opinion. Anyway, so those are my very brief thoughts. And Saabs, if you ever want to come on the ramble, you are always welcome, my friend. Andrew says, at the moment, it looks like we're done and need someone in who can get some life back to us and fight some life back to us and fight Ecky. And fight, comma. Ecky must go as he carried on from where he took over from Wilder. Yeah. I think there's a lot of similar on this. Spot on, Chris. That's what Chris saying. He doesn't look forward to games anymore. And Kristen agreeing, spot on. That's what gets me. We've completely lost our identity, and this isn't us at all. One thing you can say about Wilder is people knew how we played and what we were like as a club, who you were going to play. People did not want to play against us. They might have put their hand up to play against us in second COVID season, in second Premier League season, don't get me wrong. But short memories on some people for what Chris Wilder did for this football club. Don't forget Jose Baxter as well. Jose Baxter and Dame Whitehouse, absolutely right. Oh, you mean for the... yes, this is when I was talking about the bad luck to the club, isn't it? Of course. Jose Baxter brought on himself, I would say. The others you can argue. Ched put himself in a daft position, but ultimately got found not guilty. Jose Baxter, all self-inflicted. Dame Whitehouse was an absolute tragedy. The reason that, we're happy that QPR rat isn't doing very well as well. So it's been time for Ecky to go for 3 weeks. Absolutely, I said same, pal. I agree with you. Newcastle were it for me. He's got to go to give us a chance of making a fist of staying up and changing the club mentality to be ready for promotion challenge next year if needed. We've all seen the hangover that can happen after a miserable relegation. We cannot run that risk. Can't run that risk. Colt GTI, one of our newest ramblers. Excuse me, pal. Welcome and thank you for your support. Hi all, new here. I think some of the players signed were panic buys. At best, fringe players. I like Ecky, but he ain't a Premier League manager. Like to see Warnock in. Another one for Warnock. Interesting shout, that. Something's not right. Years ago, players didn't get horrific injuries like they get now. Is it these boots they're wearing? Is it the modern pitches? It needs looking into. There's something in the Gaza. It's not a coincidence that so many are getting such horrific injuries. And not just at our club. I saw Palace's injury list. They've got about 14 injuries out, including Eze and Elise. Not good. Ryan, I like Archer. He's top class. But do I need to read? I don't know if I should read any more of this. I really don't get the Archer signing. Oh. 9 out of 10 when we're going to get relegated. We spent 15 million on him for him to go back at the end of the season. If we go down, it's technically a loan. I would say of course, I'm going to counter this, but I take your point, and I do, because what you're saying is that 15 million could have been spent elsewhere on what will essentially be a permanent sign. Even though he is a permanent signing, you're right. I would say we've gambled that on us staying up and making a better fist of it than we have done so far. Because if we do stay up, he's still a United player. So that was the gamble we've taken. We've no fight, but we have no one to put into us. Eki's attitude will be okay, pal. Don't worry, the arm round players isn't going to work. No, totally agree with you. 4 at the back, Diamond in the middle, big and smaller one up front. I'm poised with the lack of desire and commitment. Eki needs to sort it. Our defence is a sieve. Absolutely, mate, it is. Billy, hey up, pal. At most, we'll see $1 million or so loss in what is effectively a loan fee and then wages on top. Yeah, but I think what he's saying, and Billy's saying, worth the gamble. And I agree it's worth the gamble. But I think what Ryan was saying is, why gamble it when we could have, like, you look at the Gus Hamer signing, who I think is our best signing because of the deal we got him on, 15 million quid tops on a 5-year deal, essentially, for what will be a championship cheat code, probably. Why aren't we signing players like that permanently? We have signed Archer permanently, but you know what I'm saying. I'm with you, Billy, on that, but I understand Ryan's point. Warnock's my choice. He can do a better job than Eki. I think Warnock would do a better job than Eki, if I'm honest. And more I hear the name, can you... what is happening to me? What is happening to our club? The more I hear Warnock, I think... Anyway. Surely that's the sign we're going to have to wrap up soon, but... Wilder will put pride back into the shirt, says Lee, and fight back into the field. It will clearly show the new players what is required to play for our club. Absolutely. And I don't care if it's a short-term bounce. I don't. And I don't care if we end up going down. At least we go down on our ship, don't we? It's one of them. We go down fighting. What upsets me is we've made it to the best league in the world again, and I feel worse about our club than I did in League One. What a great way to put it. Without billions in the bank, the Prem is a bit of a poison chalice. It's just not enjoyable, is it? The gulf is that big. It's madness, really. But you have to get there to maintain your yo-yo club status, essentially. You have to get there for the finances. And then the most enjoyable bit is hopefully next season, if we can keep a decent team together and going again. It's all in the chase. All in the chase. Instead of this season, I'd go for Warnock. Another Warnock fan. I think Darren's tweet was more to say we need to look to win our home games against non-top 6 sides. Yeah, I saw that one as well, Billy, but there's been a few responses that he's put out. And listen, if he's more than welcome to come back and correct me if what I'm saying is not right. And it's only an assumption. As I say, nothing confirmed. Nobody's leaked anything to me. And if they did, I might not be able to say. He mentioned it in a reply, I think. If Fulham isn't a winnable game, then who the hell are we expecting to beat? That was my exact question to him, Paul. Exact question to him, especially in the form that they're in. And then Riley, everybody follow Riley Roberts on Twitter. I know he's not a Rambler, but he puts out some really good stats and analysis. He's done a bit of work for the Ramble as well. And he was saying it's something like the most shots Fulham have had on goal, the least shots they've faced against their own goal, and all these sort of horrendous stats that just shows that Sheffield United is so easy to play against. As much as I like what the Prince has done, if he wants the best for the club, he has to let Eki go now. Wilder is not the answer. No need to shout. No need to shout, Mark. That's your opinion, mate. I've got mine. You can have yours. Change the setup. Wilder played exactly the same way. How can people not see it? Oh, Mark, that is the most simplistic way to say. Well, why don't you say, why don't we score a goal? Because you've only got to kick it into the net. It's doing the same thing as other teams. The formation is, right, I don't know how much more simple I can say this. The formation is not the same as the tactics. Formation and tactics are two different things. Our players are set up in a certain way, and at the moment, to me, they don't look like they know what they're doing. They're too slow in possession. They're not passing and moving, dawdling in possession, getting it robbed from us. I can't go into my new side of it, Mark, but the formation and tactics are two different things, pal. And I know you know that, and I don't mean to sort of, but you're talking to us like we're all thick because we can't see it, that Wilder's just going to play exactly the same way. He's not. This is not playing the same football Chris Wilder played. It's nothing like it. We're playing the same formation or a very similar formation. Excuse me. How can anyone have faith in Hickey? We've lost 7 out of 8 and lost to Lincoln. I don't think I will ever get over us losing 8-0 at home. No chance Hickey turns this around. Yeah, me and Chris are in the same boat here. Billy agrees with Mark. That's fair, mate. Wilder doesn't change the tactics / formation. I don't think he changes the formation necessarily. I think he changes the tactics. I think he has to. And it's not just tactics, it's mentality. How can anyone not see this? How can people not see it? How can people not see it, Mark? It's the mentality. The mentality needs to change. And he is the perfect man to change that mentality, that loser's mentality that we've got. Gaza says the injury list is horrendous. Whoever is in charge, it's a mammoth task this season. Absolutely right. Completely agree with that. Josh, my boy. Thank you, pal. Thank you for the fantastic super chat. Hickey has no plan B. He's too scared to change tactics. Wilder in 100%. We need change no matter what. Hope you're well, Jimmy. I'm okay. Thank you, pal. And thank you very much for asking. I'm pretty much going to be backfiring on all cylinders very shortly. So, yes, looking forward to a new video that I'll be putting out very shortly. Looking forward to doing it because I've just got it, again, written nothing down, but I've got it in my head and I think it's going to be a decent one. But yes, thank you for joining us tonight, pal, and thank you so much for your generous super chat. Massive lack of passion and fight under Hickey. Wilder is definitely worth the gamble. He'll have learnt from his exit, which was rubbish. Absolutely. Man Mountain, completely agree. Honestly, how do people not see it? Mark, Chirac, is that you? Wilder in second season didn't have a plan B, and people think he's the answer. It's starting to upset you. I'm sorry it's upsetting you, Mark. I'm not here to upset you, pal. You are entitled to your opinion, but so is everyone else. And I would say he had a terrible last 3 months. Absolutely appalling. And I don't think he would argue that personally. I've never spoken to him. But short memories. Short memories. He is what I would put down as our greatest manager of all time. I think a lot of that was the way that he led. I think there was tactical innovation in there that we all know about with the overlapping centre-backs. But I think primarily it was the way that he galvanised the squad, got them believing in themselves, and brought their absolute maximum, their optimum talent level out of what was essentially limited players. And it all crumbled at the end, no doubt about it. And I think there were a lot of factors that went into that, and I don't think some of them are excusable. But if you think Chris Wilder doesn't have a better chance of keeping us up than Paul Heckingbottom, then in my opinion, you're completely wrong. Completely wrong. Rob goes with my team all day. Thank you, pal. I'm not sure Hickey will, though. RJH gives Hickey the next 5 games. He either changes the system, gets defenders playing deeper. Yeah, okay. Billy rather go for McKenna, Rossini than Wilder. Absolutely, mate. You're more than entitled to that. The Wilder era is over. Yeah, probably is. I'm just saying that's I would have done it. Massive symbolism in Bash injury and Jock retirement. Time to move on from the 3-5-2. Time to move on from the Wilder and Hickey system, says Billy. We need a reset. I get that. I get that. We do need, it feels like we need a clear out, doesn't it, to a degree. Mr. V, hello, pal. The thing that gets me angry is all these horizontal and back passing when we have the ball. It's got to be a mindset of going forward using 1-2. I think it's a lack of confidence. That is what I would call the Jack Robinson special, where you're not comfortable in possession, so it either goes side or back. And listen, he's been better this season, but that is trademark Jack Robinson. doesn't progress. It just goes to the nearest man because it's the safest ball to play because we're not confident in our ability. Sarah, good evening. In my opinion, I'm not sure changing the manager or setup will be enough. I'm not sure it will be either, to be honest. They've lost their grit. They need reprogramming. Don't ask me how because I don't have a clue. Oh, wow. I'm getting some kickback. You can tell I'm behind on comments, but no to Phil Jones, says Rich. Fair enough. Mark's back with his Phil Jones. That's a worse signing that than Tom Davis. Listen, I'm not saying it's a good signing. But what I am saying is beggars can't be choosers. And if you're married to the three at the back, I'm not saying you are. I'm not saying anybody is. At the minute, we've got fit, unless you can tell me anything different, because I might be wrong. We've got Anel, Trusty, Robbo. You might be able to pull Baldock back. But if one of those goes down injured now, who's there? I'm just saying, in terms of Premier League experience as cover, I'm floating it. I'm not saying we should do it either because I don't know if I agree with it. It was just something I was thinking about today. Easier said than done, Mr. V. Wilder's still a blade and he's a motivator, and that's what we desperately need. People have the players. We have the players to do the job, but not the boss. I think that's ambitious, Greg, to say we've got the players to. I think we've got the best 11 to do it. Our best 11, I think, stays up. But problem is, I think our class John Egan has been in that best 11, and he's down now. So we'll see. But I agree with change of boss. Not joking. I genuinely don't see us getting to 10 points, says Mark. So let me get this right, Mark. And I know we've sort of had a bit of a laugh with each other. You don't think we'll get to 10 points, so should we change Eki? And you clearly don't want Wilder. So what's your solution? Do you change the formation? Do you change the manager? I don't know. It's a genuine question, mate. Something needs looking into regarding these injuries. Can't be a coincidence, says right. Absolutely, mate. I agree. I think Gaza said the same earlier. We've got a better squad than Luton, but we don't have 20% of Luton's fighting passion. Absolutely, Chris. It's gutting. Looking over my shoulder at that Derby record, like the Simpsons meme, he's getting. Talking to change, Jimmy, and info. Any info come forward regarding a chip? Nothing, mate. Nothing at the minute, Lee. As I say, I haven't spoken to the Prince for a few weeks now. Best not to bother him when we're on the sort of run that we're on. And that's not because I've been told to. I just think it's not really wise. And if he had anything to tell me that he wanted me to know, then I'm sure he'd have been in touch. Call me. But it's no updates, pal, at the minute. I agree, Ryan. There's been talk that the players been running to the ground in training. Not sure how true that is. That was the same with Wilder, though, wasn't it? They like to train how they play. And unfortunately, that's how Jock did his injury. Won't spend out in Jan, will be the most likely to be down. We ain't going to do that. Mark Mellors says, still think Hudson has to go. He's the common denominator in our poor defensive performances. I agree, Mark. He's, bringing a defensive coach and absolutely capitulate the way we defend. Unbelievable. Evening, Kane, pal. Hurting more than ever right now after that result. I know, Kane, you went down there, didn't you, as well, mate? And it's a long trip back. We still haven't gelled yet, and the passing needs to improve a lot. We give the ball away too easily. Completely agree, Andrew. But how do you improve? I mean, I know reps is the thing into continuing to play together. You can only get better. But if you're always getting hammered every week and getting overrun and seeing little of the ball, it becomes harder and harder to gel, I think. Looking back on pre-season, wish we'd have kept Billy Sharp, just come off the bench, and also to motivate this team. I still don't think he's worth using up a spot for Kev, but I know exactly what you mean. He brings so much more than just on the pitch, but it'd be essentially like giving us a 24-man squad just to have Billy Sharp around, and I don't think that's fair on both the player and somebody else who can come in and make a difference on the pitch. Eki doesn't seem to learn, and he's still making the same mistakes week in, week out. He was doing the same last season. Otherwise, we would have walked that title. He looks clueless. Listen, I couldn't agree more, Craig. I think we had a better squad than Burnley last season. I think we've got a similar one to them this season because I don't think we're quite as strong. I don't think they're quite as strong, to be honest. But I think you look at our squad, man, for man in the Championship, we should have walked that league. I think Chris Wilder walks that league, and that's just my opinion. I think best squad in the league, and that's largely down to the print and the board, I would say, to backing the manager and keeping the better players. And I know we sold them in the summer this time, but I think we're all in agreement because we knew, well, a lot of us were, and that's a whole different conversation. Changed to a 4-2-3-1. Traore on the left, Slimani in the middle, McAtee on the right. Hamer and Sousa being centre midfield, back four of Bogues, Nels, Trusty and Thomas. I'm not going to lie, mate. I don't like it. I understand what you're going for with the wide lads who aren't really wide lads, but they're narrow and they're on the wrong foot, so they come inside. I think that leaves us massively exposed down the wings, and I think Bogle is not one to be isolated as a fullback. But your opinion, mate? Has Eki got the passion in him at all? All very bland and monotone in his interviews. Can he motivate the players? Somebody, I think it was Steve in comment in the group said Gareth Southgate makes a Hecky interview look like Macho. Gareth Southgate looks like Macho Man Randy Savage compared to Ecky's interviews. Because, oh God, it made me laugh a bit. So, can't find the right chapter in his coaching books. The injuries could well be his training techniques. He's had massive injury records wherever he goes. People shoot me down whenever I talk about it. Reason I think we stick with it is there isn't better out there that will come to us and make a difference. That's fair. Simple as that. Players slouching, etc., doesn't come from the manager. It's solely on them. Disagree. It's on the players. Absolutely, it's on the players. But I think to say the manager don't play any part in getting a better attitude out of the players, disagree. None of our good strikers can score because he's playing 10 at the back. He lost it when we got over. He's lost when we get over the halfway line. It's all right wanting Eki out, but who out there would we get, says Andy. That's fair. We've had so much bad luck and the players' confidence is shot. It's not all Eki's fault. It's not, mate. I agree. And the terrible luck has played a huge part in it. But how do we turn it around? Because of the terrible luck, can Hecky turn this around now, or has it gone too far down? And I think it's gone too far. I'm not saying he's been massively at fault for everything. I think he does, some of his decision making hasn't helped. And he's signed these players, he's chosen them, and he's signed them. And I get the budget was limited. But when we get the amount of the huge windfall that we get for, Archer and for Illiman and Berger, and you're told you can spend it however you want, and he's chosen to, and I'd have brought in Archer and Hamer too. I don't blame Eki for that at all. But people were calling for Tommy Doyle instead of McAtee. I was a McAtee fan, but looking at it now, we're off balance. We should have got Tommy Doyle. So I can't shout at Eki for that. I can't criticise him for that. But I think he's moulded this squad, and now we're all saying they're not good enough. I had a proper good morning in the Ramble chat last night. Yes, you did, pal. Very unlike me. But just too much going on currently. Need fresh heads in charge, in my opinion. Listen, mate, that's what it's there for. We're all here to support each other. Like these chats as well, to be fair. We just point world to rights, aren't we? And trying to get things off his chest, whether we agree or not. Do we think Trusty did well? I thought he played really well. Well, really well as a stretch, Paul, but I thought he played decent. One of our better players. I think he's nailed down his spot. Well, he has anyway, hasn't he? Because there's nobody else to play in his position. How do you join the WhatsApp group? There's somebody will tell me better than this, but my number is in the community tab that members have access to. So if you drop me a message or drop me a DM on Twitter or wherever you can find, wherever I am, I'm on all social medias. Drop me your number, mate, and we'll get you in. No problem at all. Up until the Newcastle debacle, we were competitive and fighting for everything. Since that, they can't be asked to what's happened behind the scenes. I just think it's knocked all the life out of them. I think the wind's gone completely from our sails. You have to think about, listen, I think we're a little bit naive, I think, in terms of when people were talking about it being Maddie Cusack and playing on the minds, I thought that I hated to think of it as being an excuse. I'm just being real with you. I think, but I think that's been very naive of myself. And I think you think about how it really would affect you. So that day we've celebrated a life. before kickoff, and then we've got absolutely hammered. And it's like you're already on the floor, and it's like somebody's just kicking the rest of the life out of you. And I think we've never recovered. We've not recovered from Newcastle, mate. I think that's what it is. We can't afford to buy out Eki and then buy out an Ipswich manager. Run managers out of a job when Rooney comes in. Scott, we can afford to do whatever we want in terms of managers, mate. We'll bring in Ralph if we wanted to, but we've done that before with Slav, haven't we? Paid the money for a name, and it's not come off. So I think they'll probably be wary about it. We could afford Kieran McKenna if we wanted it. Question is, excuse me, as daft as it sounds, is would he want to come? Because the longer, and yes, he would, I think, but the longer it goes without making the change, Ipswich, I think, is something like 7 or 8 points are clear of third place in Championship now. So looking good at the minute. But we're only in October. We are in a terrible spot in the Premier League, rock bottom, but still within reach, so we're okay. There's a chance that if McKenna came now, we could get out of this. Ipswich might fall away. If we leave it another 6 weeks, 2 months, Ipswich might be 15 points clear in automatic spots. It's happened in as many games this time, and we might be 8, 9 points from safety. So if we sack Eki then, McKenna's not going to come to us, is he? Because we've more chance of getting relegated, and they have more chance of getting promoted. So we're going to swap. So this is why I think time is of the essence. And again, just my opinion. Joe saying just another thing nobody seems to be holding Eki accountable for. We've been in a constant injury crisis since he took over. It can't be coincidence at this stage. Completely agree. You've got to look at your training methods. The players look shell-shocked to me. It's obvious they have zero confidence, and an injury to Bash is the final knife in the back. It's time for Eki to go. Every press conference is the same. Excuses. Agreed, Mr. V. I am not a happy blade, Jimmy, and I don't go to matches at all because I wouldn't waste my money watching that rubbish. You sound like my grandpa. I'm not bloody watching that rubbish. Bloody rubbish. And he's right at the minute, to be fair. He was saying that when we got promoted and finished 9th in Prem, but, you know, he would actually have a point now. The longer we leave it unchanged, the less chance we have to turn it around. Correct, Greg. Correct, mate. As we said at the round table, which we'll get another one of them going, I enjoyed that. Eki has to get a few wins in the next 10 games. Yeah, you gave him 10, didn't you, Paul? And you might be right, pal. Otherwise, it has to be curtains. Surely we don't accept relegation as fine and just acceptable. Absolutely. Following Newcastle, we've had no reaction. And Craig says 10 games will be too late. I'm going to have to speed up, lads and lasses, I'm afraid. I like Wilder. Ridiculous how long I go on these things. I like Wilder, but has he still got it in him, or will the thoughts of when he was last in charge linger on so he carries on from where he left off? We won't know. We wouldn't know until it happened. I would say he's probably got unfinished business and wants to tidy up that. So if you talk Chris Wilder, if he'd have left 6 months earlier on a handshake rather than under a bit of a cloud, then he would never have had to buy a drink in Sheffield again, which I still think he shouldn't have to do. He would have a statue outside the ground. He would, you know, continue to be the absolute icon that he should be. He tarnished his reputation, whether that was his fault, the owner's fault, whoever. There was a nasty breakup, which has now been reconciled, thankfully. But he has unfinished business at this club. He wants to put that right, I'm sure. What a legacy it would be to come and save us from this absolute mess that we're in. Can you believe it? Can you imagine? I nearly did. And I think it's a step too far, to be honest. But I nearly tried to put together a bit of a montage, you know, like where you hear it echoing in background with his quotes and stuff like that. So we sack Eki and this is Sheffield United. This is my club. We fight for the shirt. You've got a bit like the one that you've got to dive to get 3 points. But Wilder were always saying stuff like that, weren't he? He had his little sound bites that he used to say about we won't accept second best and all this. And it's the absolute minimum expectation that you give everything for the shirt. Can you imagine like stuff like that? Playing in background, and then come Man United under the lights at Bramall Lane, as he used to say. I want every blade standing. I want everybody behind us. Oh, I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it. Chrissy Wilder leading us out. He claps us all before kick-off. Oh, it'd be unreal, wouldn't it? It'd be absolutely unreal. And listen, I am hearkening back to the times when, you know, he brought me the best times as a blade, and I've been following us I'm 39 now, and my dad took me to my first game when I was 5 or 6, so 33, 34 years. Yeah, best times ever under Wilder. In the next 10 games, we have 2 winnable games, Burnley and Wolves. Bournemouth, I'd say as well, pal. But if that falls through, it could come to a January. It could come to January. Scott, come on. If we don't stay up, it's back to the grime. And I've been watching United since the early 70s. Eki has not got enough tactical nous, I think that is, Stu. Yeah. I think, to give Eki his due, I think he's a very clever man. Very, very clever. But I don't think he's always that. I don't think he can always make a decision in the moment or the right decision in the moment. What would you think of Nathan Jones? Not for me, Rich. Not for me. No. Didn't he compare himself to Pep Guardiola? He said he's just as good as Pep Guardiola. It's just, nah. Transfer window will not change anything with Eki. I agree. Warnock's the best. He speaks his mind. Wilder's the best, but I know what you're saying, pal. No good and Fleck well past the sell-by date. Yeah, I agree. Well, listen, if we're going to accept relegation, then we accept them two not playing for us, really, don't we? Especially Fleck. So do we sell him in January if we're going to go down? If we can get rid of him? Not sure. Can't stand being negative, depressed after a game. It's doing my boxing. Get Wilder or Warnock in, for goodness sake. Absolutely right. Come on, let's speed through these last few. On a positive note, I love all your rambling. So happy I came on Jimmy and Blade's ramble. Thank you, pal. Came upon us. Help me give my view and get everyone else's opinions too. Keep up the great work, Jimmy. Thank you, mate. That's a really nice thing to say. Really nice. Appreciate it. I take Warnock right now over Wilder because anyone else for that one, because you've got to die to get 3 points. Rich is playing. It's Eki's job to generate passion in the players, and he can't do it. Agree, Craig. You can hear, thinking in his interviews, listen. And also, you listen to me. Oh, I understand Illiman's going now, and he loved it here. Why Illiman's gone? Yeah, no. Believe these players. Eki's killing them. You believe in these players? I believe in these players too, Craig. I won't say Eki's killing them, but I think the current mix it's a negative spiral, isn't it? And it's not getting any better. Billy was our leader in the dressing room. We haven't got that now. Get our Billy back on loan. And no, let's not do that. But I think losing Bash is huge as well. Absolutely huge. One of the few voices left. 4-3-1-2 is the way forward. Wes Baldock and Nell, Trusty Robinson, Hamer, Norwood, Susan. I don't hate it, mate. Don't hate it. Warnock's one of them for me, but as my son, one of the piggies want him, and he's going to talk to them. It looks like they're going to appoint someone else, pal, at the minute. They don't want to talk to him. He were open to talking to him, which tells you all. Listen, he don't have to be a Blade, does he, to be our manager? Eki's not a Blade. No one can convince me Warnock's a proper Blade if you're going to go talk to them. Wilder wouldn't have entertained it, I don't think. Just my opinion. Jimmy, this is the best channel on YouTube regarding United. Love everyone's opinion on what's going on. What's going wrong. We're all singing from the same hymn sheet. Thank you, Kev. That's a lovely thing to say. Thing is, I don't think we are all singing from the same hymn sheet in terms of opinions. I think we've all got different ones, but at least we can come together and respectfully disagree with each other, can't we? And some people put really good points across, and I get on really well with people that don't agree with me, certainly in this space anyway. Warnock won't go. I agree. Regarding Wilder leaving, we actually truly know what happened? I think COVID affected his mental state. In my view, I may be wrong. I'd have him all one. To me, Andrew, I buy into that a little bit. I think he just looked somebody who's on a much lesser scale suffered recently with a little smidgen of burnout. I think he just looked completely burnt out that last 6 months. I think he was gone. He looked vacant in a lot of his interviews. It were going through the motions. It wasn't the Wilder we knew and loved. And I just think, he struggled massively. So, there could have well been a mental health factor in there. I won't want to speculate, as I'm sure you're not doing, but you're just sort of giving your opinion on what a reason might have been. Absolutely, mate. COVID affected a lot of people in a lot of different ways. We should take Martin O'Neill from TalkSport. He can probably just afford the compensation. Gee whiz. We're going to finish it on this from Craig. Wilder is the only option as things are. I agree. I love Chrissy Wilder. I think we've established that through the whole stream. An hour and 15 minutes. What are we doing? What goes on these things? But hopefully, listen, we're not all going to agree. It's always nice to come on and talk United, especially with you guys, even though, you know, the odd one or two of you, and I won't mention you, Mark Hill. Don't know what they're talking about. Joking. Everybody's got their own opinion, and I love it. Thank you all for joining me tonight. It's closing day today for the awards. The FCA's Best New Content Creator we're up for. So, if you aren't already, I'm sure most of you have, though, because you're huge supporters of the channel. Then if you haven't already, or you know somebody that hasn't, then give them a nudge and get us voted for. I'll be honest, I'm tempering my expectations, but it's great just to be in the conversation. So thanks to everybody again for supporting us. I'll let you know when this is going to go live to the rest of the rabble. I might have to edit comments like that out. I will speak to you soon. Come on, you red and white wizards. Come on. Please come on. Let's have some change. Up the blade.